I don't know. This is gonna be a hard video to edit down, I think, because we went through it in the wrong order.
God damn it! This is my fault. I forgot. I brought up his hair too soon.
No, I started. I'm like, we should check the last page. Let's flip to the back. It's fine.
7 pages, and we still fucked it up. New, The Legion of Superheroes, Superboy, number 172. It's dated March of 1971. And we are specifically reading the backup story, which is the first Legion backup in Superboy. And it is titled Brotherly Hate. We have Nelson Bridwell writing, George Tuska is drawing and inking. The letterer suspiciously is named Joe Letteries.
He's good. I've seen his name in a lot of stuff.
I don't know if that's kind of like the director who doesn't want credit. They always use Alan Smithy or something.
He must be a real guy.
You think so?
Yeah.
They're like, with a name like that, you should letter comics. And Murray Boltinoff is the editor.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this the other day, and I was like, "When was I remember people complaining about the Murray Boltinoff issues, and I thought it was Action, but it's these early Superboys that they star in. He did those. I was looking it up, and he edited it up to like what was this 172? I think he goes up to I don't know the 220s as editor.
Right. And though this is the first Legion backup, I don't think they start regularly appearing for another year or two. Like they might show up sporadically a couple times, but they're not there every issue until what is that issue?
Yeah, it's 197.
197.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty good amount of them though. Yeah, it's not every month or anything, but there's a handful of them.
Right.
Maybe every 2 or 3 months they're in it.
Maybe they're rotating with some other backups.
Yeah, you know what? I scanned through comics.org today and I can't remember. But like they're mostly drawn by Tuska, then Cockrum takes over, and then I guess that just leads right into the full issues series at 197. And they're written by Bridwell, and then Carrie Bates does some of them. This one's good. It's like since it's the first in their new series, it kind of intros the concept for everybody.
Yeah, it kind of serves as a pilot, right? Conveniently runs through the premise.
Yeah, like they recap the origin in a page and a half here.
Right.
Like the panels are like redrawn verbatim from Superboy 147. There's a origin that Bridwell wrote.
He mentions in the origin, Lightning Lad he mentions he's looking for his brother. And I'm not sure that was there the first time around.
I don't remember either. They kept that though through.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the reboot, even I think like that's
Yeah.
still the reason he's on that ship is he's
Right.
looking for his brother, his long lost crazy brother.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and also it's it kind of mirrors the Jeff Johns cycle of stuff. Kind of debuts in Adventure Comics.
Like Legion of Three Worlds or his Adventure.
Yeah, after Legion of Three Worlds, they show up in Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept of that is Lightning Lad looking for Lightning Lord. Only Lightning, the real Lightning Lord, has convinced Lightning Lad that he has a twin. We've always thought he was born solo, but he convinces him that he has a twin, and Lightning Lad decides to go find him. And that's kind of how that gets off the ground.
Weird.
But then that's a detail that like when Levitt starts his series, like Lightning Lad shows up and somebody's like, "Did you ever find him?" And he's like, "Nah." And then they go on. They never talk about it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've talked about this the first panel of Superboy here. Superboy introduces the story, and it's kind of told.
Very notably off model.
Yeah, like he's got this real shaggy 70s hair
Right.
that the real Superboy never had.
Yeah. No trademark S curl.
Mhm.
I guess that would be considered long hair by that era standard too.
Yeah, you can't see his ear on this side.
Looking at helmet hair. It's long for Superboy, that's for sure.
I think this whole issue, like, I mean, this whole story, it's, I don't know, I looked at the hair all the way through it
Yeah.
because, like, the premise here is that it all just I don't know, let's just reveal the plot here because it's super short.
Hmm.
The plot here is that Lightning Lad has always been searching for his brother since day one of joining the Legion, and he finally shows up. Prior to this, I guess Lightning Lord has always just been in the Adult Legion,
Right.
and so I think this is the first time he shows up in the whatever the main Legion, the Kid Legion.
I'm pretty sure that's the case, though I didn't double check on that. Mainly because of the way his hair ends up conveniently silver at the end. Up until now, every time we've seen him, he has been from the adult Legion future traveling back. And he had a mustache usually. So I'm sure they wanted to strip out that contrivance and have a contemporary version of him here, but they wanted him to look recognizable. So that's the white hair ending.
To me, it's like they always say that Bridwell is like the guy who knows everything about DC.
Hmm.
Like now it's Mark Wade, but before Mark Wade, it was
Hmm.
Bridwell was like the walking encyclopedia
Hmm.
of DC lore. And I just feel like he's kind of like he must be one of those guys who he's like the fans we have now who just want like they want the backstory of every character in the Star Wars cantina. Like they want each one of those guys has a novel, now.
Right.
And I feel like Bridwell's instinct must have been like, no, we've got to make this sync up. Like, how did he get his white hair?
Right.
And so he puts it in this comic because, like, when he was a teenager, there's no way he had white hair. He must have had
Right.
red hair like everybody else.
Right. There was no need to explain it when he was older, but I think, yeah, I mean, I think they wanted to keep him recognizable and distinguishable from Lightning Lad because, except for the green, they look pretty much identical in these earlier pages when they both have red hair.
Tuska does a good job, though. He draws Lightning Lad with this kind of uh, combed back look,
Right.
and Lightning Lord is parted on one side.
Yeah. Kind of looks
So
like
they,
cornrows in some of these pages, but yeah, Lightning Lad's hair.
oh yeah, it does. Huh? Right,
Like
right
on the
here.
first page, in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but see, Lightning Lord has it parted on the side. Is a little bit longer and shaggier
Right.
than the greased back Lightning Lad. So yeah, you can distinguish them even when they fight a little bit later on. Like
Right.
I was looking at this panel
It
and
seems to get longer once it turns white.
I was looking at this panel or this page. It gets a little confusing in their battle,
Yes.
but because of their hair, you can tell who's who.
Right.
But yeah, it does get real long when he finally gets the shock of his life.
Right. It looks pretty close in that last panel to the way it looked in the 80s, like in the Giffen days. I don't remember him having a cape though as an adult. I don't know if that was added in here or if I just don't remember it.
Oh, you know what? I don't remember that either. Yeah, I don't think he did. But yeah, besides his hair, the hair of those two guys, I don't know. I liked the delineation of the hairdos throughout.
Yeah.
And just the inking altogether I think looks really good. George Tuska's really good
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like some of the panels are not too clear like in that fight, but like there's some really great posing here, like this one on the last page.
For sure. The nice hands on almost every almost every panel, like on page 5, lower right hand corner.
Yeah, this is all about the hands. Like I like this hand right here,
Yep,
where he's kind of got a tense grip.
for sure.
No, Tuska's a pro.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way this stuff looked when I first saw it. I mean, they don't look very teenage, maybe is what I didn't like. But I think in general, this is really great, you know, superhero drawings.
I even appreciate the rocky landscape on page 4. Like, I think I would have a tough time planning that out.
It's kind of strange how, yeah, like it's a cool drawing. Like there's
Hmm.
two cool spaceships in it,
Hmm.
but also it's really flat. Maybe it
Yeah.
needs, I don't know, a little bit different color or something. Maybe a little bit bigger in this background or something. But
Yeah.
I also kind of like the incongruity that it brings to the page. But what happens is they track Lightning Lord to this place. Timberwolf, Light, I guess she's Light Lass here.
Hmm.
They're handily defeated, but then Lightning Lad goes one on one and beats him, and then they take him to jail. I guess they're just going to assume he's going to jail.
What do you think of the quote at the end?
It's good. Had you ever heard of Thomas Fuller before? Here, I'll read the quote. Thomas Fuller in the 18th century wrote, "He that has no fools, knaves, nor beggars in his family was begot by a flash of lightning." Pretty good. I wonder if Bridwell read that before he wrote the story or after, because it kind of syncs up, you know.
Hmm.
But I had never heard of Thomas Fuller before. I looked him up, and I guess he just transcribed all the most famous adages into a book back in whenever it was. This says 18th century, but I think it was more like the
Like a
17th
like a
century.
like a famous book of quotes, historical
Yeah,
quotes, or something like that.
but they're like kind of idioms, you know.
Right. So if they can't attribute to anyone in particular, he gets credit since he put the book together.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it was original stuff all out of his head. But this origin is very faithful to the one that Bridwell wrote back in 147 of Superboy. That's a big, like, 100 pager.
I think I missed that point that he wrote them both.
Yeah, I feel like he must just be trying to, I don't know, he wants to make his mark in the history of the Legion.
Hmm.
Like he devised how Lightning Lord got the white hair. He wrote their origin and their first adventure, I guess.
Hmm. Well, what else was he known for?
Mainly editorial, as far as I know. Like he was assistant editor to Weisinger. I think he was assistant editor to Bolton off for a little bit on these,
Hmm.
but then he wrote a ton of Superman, like, you know, like in Superman Family and stuff like that. Into the 70s, he was writing a lot of those little short stories. Like
Was he still an editor at that time, or
I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised.
I've noticed a lot in a lot of creator biographies. It seems like early on that was, even if you were a good writer or a good artist, especially so with an artist, if you could get into editorial, they would take it because it's less work. You know, they they can only grind at the pencils for so long.
Hmm.
So a lot of guys who had promising drawing careers stopped to become editors.
Yeah.
Interesting. There wasn't any Image Comics or any other way to like make a living at it. So if you could find an easier gig within the company, I think they were quick to take it.
Yeah, totally. Steady paycheck. Yeah, I mean, I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Bridwell was editing because eventually Julius Schwartz became the editor of the Superman stuff.
Hmm.
I don't know if Bridwell was an assistant or if he was just doing writing at that time.
Right.
At that time, it was a long time that Schwartz.
Anyway, brotherly hate.
Back to brotherly hate. There's this the bank with the monsters that protect it is another detail that I think it's from an earlier Legion story.
Yeah, what is that about?
It's just that the interplanetary bank has giant monsters to protect it.
Okay, okay. So they were referenced before, like we'd seen them drawn before.
I'm pretty sure. I remember reading about like for some reason it made an impact on me when I read it in like Who's Who in the Legion, I think, in that they have those little this kind of recap text history with
Right.
illustrations. I think they mentioned it in that. And when I read it again in here, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like that's still just I haven't seen it any other time, I don't think, and it's still
I
kind of
would
stuck
like
in
to
my
know
mind.
more about the interplanetary bank. I probably would have dismissed that as a boring background detail, just a generic place to set the action in my younger days. But I mean, in the future, do they use the gold standard? Are they using cryptocurrency? How does how does who do they have some equivalent to the Fed for the entire galaxy?
uh, I'm curious too. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff, it's probably on Weber's World eventually, right? Like,
Right, right.
I don't know where do they say where this interplanetary bank, the main branch is? It's so weird to think about bank branches. I mean, I guess every bank is a bank
Hmm.
branch now. That I don't know that there's a main branch of anything anymore. Like when was the last time you had to go down to the main branch of a bank? I remember going with my mom as a kid. She had to pay stuff there, or
Right.
like if you needed to fuck with your certificates of deposit or whatever, you have to go to
Yeah.
the main branch. But I don't think they have main branches anymore that like have a bunch of offices and stuff because computers made that
I
irrelevant.
think those still exist.
Yeah.
Maybe not for you to visit.
Yeah. I mean, they're all like Chase, right? And they're in a big skyscraper and you would never go in there unless you worked there.
Right, exactly.
But
That kind of thing.
yeah.
Not the
But what
kind where
like
you could go in.
what happened to the days of like you go into the main and it's like this old building with a lot of marble and stuff like the movies, they rob them in the movies.
Yeah,
They even still kind of make movies like that, I think, but I don't think
right.
those banks really
Those
exist
are all
much.
payday loans now, David.
Yeah. I have been by places like that where it's like, "Oh, this used to be a beautiful place," and now it's like
They sell cell phones there.
yeah, and, like, they kinda walled off most of it behind, like,
Right.
they put a plastic sign outside. It's real sad. I don't know. It's a good comic.
Yeah.
I'm eager to read the subsequent ones because this is the only one of these Tuska ones I've looked at in a long, long ass time.
What do you think about Timberwolf's somersault, midair somersault? Like, I like that, but I feel like if I saw this when I was 12, I would have thought this was very lame looking. Like it looks like clip art rotated over or something.
It looks strange, and it doesn't yeah, like, he's supposed to be flying through the air,
Hmm.
but, yeah, it looks really static still, like,
Right.
these 2 characters in the back actually seem more animated somehow than the guy who's
Right.
doing a flying assault in the air.
Yeah. I kind of have trouble parsing why I like things sometimes because I'm at the point where I kind of like when things look clunky and clip arty in old comics.
All of his acrobatics, I mean, all of it. There's 2 panels. There's this one and then the next one right after it where
Right.
I couldn't tell in this panel if he's somehow being repelled by Lightning Lord and spinning around. There's, like, these motion lines around him.
Well, what kind of work was he doing traditionally, like before this? Like, was he a guy who was doing more like crime comics or something like that? And he went into superheroes where he wasn't maybe accustomed to action poses? I don't know.
I don't know either. I think I'm actually confusing him with Don Heck. I know Don Heck did a lot of, like, Yeah, more like guys in suits kind of comics. And I
Right.
think in my mind, as a kid, I saw both of those guys and thought they were like of the same breed of like boring
Yeah.
old fashioned artist.
Don Heck did a lot of like Western comics. Like there was a whole like second train of Marvel comics that still did well in the 60s. It was mostly like Western related stuff. And that's where like Larry Lieber and Don Heck and a lot of those guys spent most of their time.
I've seen some Don Heck stuff, actually a lot of it where they're like crime comics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one cover that I've seen that I think is really great where it's like
Mm-hmm.
just like this beat up guy's face and it's just on the cover of the comic and
Yeah.
that's all there is. But that's Don Heck.
I don't
George
know. I think
Tuska, I
I
don't know.
think Don Heck is fine. I
Mhm.
mean, he's not like the greatest artist ever, but I think he gets shit on unfairly sometimes,
Yep.
like by Harlan Ellison.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
Bra, you
Oh,
know
yeah,
that,
that's where they were talking about that. I do remember hearing that. I'm looking at this page we have open right now, the 4th page, and it shows Timberwolf climbing down the, ladder kind of in silhouette here, and he's wearing a
mm-hmm.
different costume. Like, his costume's all baggy here.
Oh yeah.
And then what is this? It looks like somebody's leg.
In the upper right.
Yeah, it's sticking out of the word balloon right here.
Yeah, it's like a leg growing out of this person's head.
Yeah, you see a silhouette of eyes. It has to be Light Lass, assuming
Uh-huh.
this is Timberwolf. But
Right.
like just from one panel to the next, this is not the same costume. But then also it's not her costume either. So this is like I don't know who this person is. It's Timberwolf, but
It is Timberwolf. Of course it is, because of the
little shoulder scallops, right?
right. I don't know. Maybe that's just kind of muscle memory. Like that's how he like defined like the contour of the leg, and he's used to drawing people wearing pants maybe instead of tights, so it would work normally.
I still don't get what this leg shaped thing coming out of her head is.
Yeah, I keep thinking maybe it's something really obvious and I'm looking too close to it, but maybe it was like just misinked. Is it supposed to be like a leg of the spacecraft? Maybe.
Could be some kind of undercarriage of the spaceship.
Hmm.
I don't know, pretty weird. What a weird mistake.
She gets pretty underutilized in this, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like
I guess
she's
she doesn't even get like a little fight scene like Timberwolf
no.
does.
I think we've talked about it before, but I just think it's so strange that she was deemed like a useless, one of the useless characters. Like it just seems like that power, you could do a lot with that power. Like that power seems to me more interesting than lightning powers if used right.
I'm trying to even think what it is. Light Lash. She can make things not have gravity, right?
Right.
Or
Right. So she could basically, she could be like picking up trucks and heaving them at people or whatever.
mhm.
Like, I mean, that's how other characters I've seen with gravity powers have been depicted. Like, it's like having limitless strength, but that's just one thing you could do with it, you know?
Well, is it I'm thinking there's multiple ways that her power could work. Like it's Light Lass. She makes things lighter.
Hmm.
And they say Starboy's power, which takes is the opposite kind of.
Right.
He supposedly takes mass from a star
Hmm.
and gives it to whatever object he's trying to make heavier, right? But
Hmm.
he makes it more massive or more dense, I guess.
Yeah.
But he and so then it weighs more.
Right.
So is her power to take away the mass and give it back to a star, like the opposite of Starboy, or is it that she alters gravity itself so it doesn't affect the thing she's her subject?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just thinking like
Right.
if you can control gravity for real, That's a huge thing out there in the universe, you know?
Well, right. If you want to get like super sciencey about it, like
I do.
if you can control gravity, you can probably control time and all kinds of other things because
It's one of the big 4, right?
relativity like ties that stuff together. Like the mass or gravity of an object somehow affects the speed of time. And I'm not a physicist. I just that's what Carl Sagan says.
Yeah. No, I mean, she could be a big powerhouse, and
Right.
Starboy could be too, depending on what their power actually does. Like, if she just like magic, like this thing is not heavy anymore and it floats
Uh-huh.
away, yeah, that is kind of pointless and dumb. But like if, yeah, a real science grounded writer shows up and is like, well, what she can do is move planets around with her gravity effect.
Even if things just float away, I don't know. Like, say there's an army of coons attacking or something, and all of a sudden they seem to be falling straight up. That seems like it could be pretty useful.
Yeah, it could be. And then she could throw a truck at them too
Yep.
as they're floating away.
It would also explain her hair, like how it's like just going straight up.
Yeah, she's one who's never had a good hairdo, I don't think.
See, early on, at least she kind of had like this mini beehive that I thought looked kind of good. It
Yeah, this
was kind
one,
of interesting how she was able to sculpt it within a couple pages from having exactly Lightning Lad's hair to like all of a sudden she had like a little beehive. But you remember
right.
that?
Yeah. And that also makes me wonder, when she first showed up, she disguised herself as Lightning Lad, right? And they
Yep.
couldn't tell the difference.
Yep.
And I get that they're probably 14 or 15 at that time, but
Right.
they have exactly the same build. Or was she like,
Padded.
yeah, does she have big shoulder pads in, or
I assume so.
is Lightning Lad maybe like a much more slender person? Here he's not at all. He's
Right.
a man and she's a woman, very
Yeah. I mean,
clearly.
they were. I think they were much scrawnier back then. They weren't drawn as bulkily, but I also remember. I mean, like Kurt Swan did draw them pretty similarly from the head up, but by the time she's in costume, she's pretty leggy on that last page, if I remember right. Like,
Yeah. I just think it's kind of a stretch.
yes,
But this is a much more modern story. They don't do silly stuff like that anymore.
we don't know what 30th century prosthetic technology is like. I mean, probably had like some very
Mhm.
special padding
Well, and
adjustable.
the genders will be different.
Well, there won't be genders by then, right?
Right. I mean, the way
Don't
we
say that.
understand them will be totally different, even though they're still going by Lightning Lad and Lightning Lass, etc.
Right. Well, I mean, they're still calling themselves lad and lass and boy and girl, and they're in their 30s. So
Hmm.
obviously the conventions change at some point. Do you
Yep.
have a letters column?
There is a letters column, but I don't know if there's any Legion stuff in it because I didn't really make any note of it. Oh yeah, you know what? It did have a Legion letter. Yeah, this is the Smallville mail sack.
Mm-hmm.
First letter says, "Dear editor, I'm speaking for the great silent majority that has sorely missed the Legion of Superheroes, and we're looking forward to the debut of this 30th century squad in Superboy. But how long do we have to wait, and who will be responsible for the feature?" That's Eddie Ross, Palm Springs, California. The editor responds, "Your patience is being rewarded right here in this issue. And if our Legion still has the same old appeal, you'll be seeing them frequently. E. Nelson Bridwell scripted Brotherly Hate, and George Tuska handled the art. Little need to introduce the Big E to anyone, as Nelson's affectionately labeled around the office. But for fans who are unfamiliar with Tuska's work in DC's Unexpected, House of Secrets, etc., a couple of paragraphs should be appropriate." And they do a little bio of George Tuska.
You think they just hung on to that letter until they finally got a regular feature?
I guess, unless they may have announced it, in like a direct occurrence or something, some time ago. But like this guy seems to know, right, that they're going to be in Superboy.
Yes.
So maybe 2 months ago, there was some news about it. This is a good description of Tuska. Tall, dignified, graying temples framing his leonine face. Muscular from years of weightlifting, George was born almost 40 years ago in Hartford, Connecticut. He was hospitalized at the age of 8 for appendicitis when an adult patient in an adjoining bed showed him how to draw.
Oh, wow.
Says he went to New York's National Academy of Design, which eventually led to comics. He shifted his drawing board from one publishing house to another over the years until ultimately settling here with us at National. He lives in the same modest Long Island suburb where he settled with his wife Dorothy more than 16 years ago, with a daughter Catherine, 15, and a son Robert, 13. He has an older daughter who recently married. His spare time is devoted to painting, golfing, with a covey of cartoonists, his most intimate friends.
He used to work in he worked in Eisner's studio, and he worked alongside Lou Fine and Mike Sikowski.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, studio mates, and also Nick Cardy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Who's Bob Powell? Do you know that name?
I do know Bob Powell.
He was one of them too.
I think Bob Powell is the guy who co-created the Blackhawks.
Okay.
Yeah, so this says he was, it says Tuska was born 40 years ago, and this is
Mm-hmm.
1970, so he was born in 1930.
Really?
Or
His Wikipedia says 1916.
weird. Well, wait, am I doing my math wrong? No,
Maybe he didn't want to admit how old he was.
that is
Yeah,
strange.
it says he died in 2009 at 93.
So this is a very old bio that was submitted when he was.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
could
it
just
would
be
be
an old bio. Yeah,
about 15 years difference,
like
right? Between
maybe when he
19.
first started, they just
Yeah.
recycled it, or maybe he's it's like Jack Benny, 40ish.
Yeah, he's always 40. But they put in all these years, like some very specific dates that he's lived in Long Island with his wife more than
Mm-hmm.
16 years ago. He's got a 15-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, and he has an oldest daughter who recently married.
Oh,
But I guess all that stuff happened 15 years ago, and now his 15-year-old daughter is 30, and
right,
his oldest daughter has been married for 15 years. I don't know, kinda weird that he would let that do I don't know, let that information be put out there, I guess.
right. He drew a Buck Rogers strip in the late 50s, early 60s. It's like he might have done some. No, it's another action comic. Scorchy Smith. Never heard of it.
Oh, Scorchy Smith is, yeah, that's a big, aviation newspaper strip.
Okay.
There's this really nice IDW, Scorchy Smith retrospective book bio of this artist. Why can't I think of his name? Oh, it's Noel Sickles.
Okay.
Noel Sickles did Scorchy Smith, and then it was taken over by a guy named Burt Christman, and then I think Frank Robbins eventually did Scorchy Smith,
Oh no, man.
and then I guess Tuska. That was a
Right.
long-lived strip. That's a strip from, like, the, late 20s, I think.
Yeah. I think he's best known for Iron Man, right?
That
I know
does
you're
sound
not a
right.
Marvel guy, but he he did Iron Man for a long time.
Did he do, like, the first Iron Man stories? That was, like, Dick Ayers or somebody, Kirby and Ayers.
The first Iron Man was actually two guys we've already talked about, Don Heck and Larry Lieber.
Oh.
It's actually credited to four people because Stan Lee gets credit probably just because he ran the company, and Jack Kirby, I think, might have drawn the cover to the first issue, which probably defined his look because he kind of looked like a Kirby character early on. He was very squat.
I think Stan Lee drew the whole thing.
Well, his brother drew. I think he drew. Maybe he just wrote. He did draw for sure. I have some Spider-Man issues he drew like as late as the '80s, but I think he's still on like the Spider-Man daily.
Yeah, I think he still draws or was drawing that for a while. I don't know if he
But
still is.
he might be. He might have a ghost. I mean, I don't know.
He probably does have a ghost because he's dead.
Yeah, well, he's got to be close to. Can be young.
The next letter is they're talking about the name of the letter column again, like in that issue of Action we were just reading.
Right. What is the name of the column in Superboy?
This one is Smallville Mail Sack.
Okay.
Over in Action, it was Metropolis Mail Bag, Metropolis Mail Bag, or also Mail Sack. I don't know which. And then I don't know what the Adventure Comics one became after. Maybe it was something with Super Talk. Maybe that was the
It's something
Superboy.
mailbox. Or
Yeah. Small. Oh yeah, we got Smallville.
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, not too creative there. It's pretty much almost the same title, right?
Different town.
Right.
But they say, "Dear editor, since you put a new name to the letter column in Action Comics, how about one for Superboy? May I offer Smallville Super Mail?" That's Super MALE
Uh,
because it's a Superboy letters, Super Mail. They say, "We're always open to suggestions." Oh, this was written by Tinny Goodger, Bentley, Louisiana. "We're always open to suggestions, Tinny, and we do like yours. But in this era of women's lib, won't the girls object because we're omitting the female? Anyway, we're interested to hear from anyone out there in fan land."
fan land.
The way these guys back in these comics in this 60s and 70s refer to women's lib in such a really condescending way.
Yeah, let's put it in quotes.
It's always embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Women's lib, you know? Come on, you guys.
Right. Same when they show up in like TV shows from that time. They're always like a kind of a negative stereotype. Got a big chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, it's always like this harpy, right?
Right. By the end of the episode, they realize, oh, men can be all right too sometimes.
I don't think anything else in this letters page is about Legion. This guy writes in and says, "Oh wow, I liked the Superboy legend. Who drew it? Ross Andrew and Mike Esposito? And what are the chances of making it a regular feature?" This is John Chrysostom of Detroit, Michigan. And I guess the Superboy legend must be some kind of retrospective history of Superboy feature or something.
I see.
The editor says, "You're half right. The team was Bob Brown and Esposito. As for the legend, we have another tucked away in our file for an upcoming issue and hope to schedule it and others whenever space allows." And then the next part is Janice Johnser of Puce Coupe, British Columbia, Canada. How do you say Puce Coupe? But she's complaining about I guess there's some Germans that spoke German in the comic in issue 168, and she says it's atrocious. But the editor says, "Well, sorry, Janice. Our production department employee Goethe Gottel, a former German national, proofread it for us and said it was good. So we'll never know who's right, if it's Goethe or Janice. Janice, the stupid kid, complaining about the German."
It looks like maybe the Superboy legend is a ongoing one-page feature. They remind me of like extras at the back of an annual. Maybe some of them are multi-pagers, but where's that other one? Sorry.
Hurry the hell up.
I'm trying. Sometimes it doesn't show me all the pictures I have.
Wait, so do you just have like downloaded images of all these comics on your iPad?
No, but I like every time I see something I like, I just save it, which
Huh.
is really dumb because there's no easy way to index it. So I just end up searching for it again.
Yeah, you'll never find it again.
Yeah, it's fucking obnoxious. God damn it, where'd that go? Uh, continue. If I find this, I'll show it to you.
I can't continue. We're done. That's the end of the letters page.
Shit.
You're done. It's over.
I wasn't-
Well, wait. While I wait, I guess I can read the statement of ownership that's down here at the.
Well, here's one.
Oh, okay.
They seem like they're just like fun facts about Superboy one pagers.
That sounds boring, but they're
Yeah.
drawn by Brown and Esposito, evidently.
Right.
Oh, I like that hand. Does he have extra
Yeah.
fingers on those big hands? Those are cool.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute.
That must be the effects of Red K.
He's saying it's red kryptonite.
Hmm.
Gave him extra fingers temporarily.
I bet Lana Lang liked that.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the letters page. We did it. Superboy 172. It's marking a new era in Legion of Superheroes history.
Yes.
Good one, pretty good one.